Hey everybody, welcome to Whole View. Today we're going to be talking about Joyride. So when you have a comedy, the object of the trailer should be make this thing look funny. While the trailer did look funny for this, it also presented me with a lot of opportunities to see cringy moments in the movies. And when I saw that first trailer for the film, I thought, I am not going to pay to watch this because I'm going to feel secondhand embarrassment quite often while watching this. So in that way, I'll say the marketing failed because it wasn't that cringy. There was actually only one moment when I talk about my negatives in the film. There's only one moment that is truly cringy. Everything else was fun. It was very funny and it was very raunchy. Exactly what you would expect going in, but just way more well executed than the trailer put on. So I'm gonna do my negatives first, and I'm gonna go into the things that I didn't like, because in this case, the positive greatly outweigh the negative. Like, I actually feel slightly more enlightened culturally after watching this movie, and that's something that I truly didn't expect going in. So let's talk about the negatives first, what I didn't like. There was only one moment that was truly cringy, and that was the little airport music video scene. Man, I really didn't like the execution of that. And really, it's just the fact that it's that song. You know, I think they sung a rendition of WAP, which is, that song itself is just ugh. But the fact that they did it, I was just like, man, let's hurry up and get this over with. I didn't really care for that moment. And honestly, regardless of what they sung, you take WAP out and you put almost anything else in, I would not have enjoyed that moment regardless. So that's just that moment. But that is like one scene out of the entire movie. So if I can refer to one scene as being something I didn't like, one of my negatives is like, well, they're doing great otherwise. My only other negative when talking about the movie is the obligatory friend fight and makeup after the fight. So that is how most of these movies tend to end when you get towards the end. And at the end of this video, I'll talk about some of the recommendations. If you like these movies, then you should like Joyride. But in that category of these movies, and I'll name a few towards the end, like all those movies have that same moment, like that obligatory friend fight. They're going to have a fight that is going to tear the friends apart at the end of this road trip, at the end of this journey that they've been on, at the end of this wild weekend that they've just experienced. So the fact that it shows up here is just like, yeah, y'all had to do it because that's what these movies do. These movies all have that friendship fight, and then they all make up at the very end, and people grow and people move on to new things, and it's like, that feels pretty standard. I guess cliche would be the word. But those are the only two things that I'm down on when I talk about the movie. And to me, that's a damn good start. Like, you only have two things that I can reference and say I didn't like. On the other hand, when it comes to the positives, I feel like this movie was very well done and actually quite funny. So now we're in the positives. There's so much racially offensive comedy in this movie. Now, I am a black person and I don't have all the references and I don't understand all the isms that when the Asian ladies are talking about their different types of Chinese people, or when they're going through the airport and they're identifying different types of Chinese people, like, oh, Shanghai Chinese, they're bougie, and then this group and that group. Like, that stuff to me was cool. And it was eye-opening in a different way. The stuff that I'm talking about as far as like racially offensive comedy, that would be the stuff that took place in Audrey's office. Like, the whole first 10 minutes of the movie, every little reference that they made to Asian culture and trying to associate, honor her culture or be an ally to her, it's like all that stuff was over the top funny. I really enjoyed it. And it's the same type of stuff that you see go on in any kind of cultural experience. I think white people in America in real life are much more sensitive to not step on the toes of African Americans, because some of the things that they might consider cultural to us and they try to like include might be considered like racist and mean-spirited. But for some reason, like these characters in this movie get away with like weird stuff. Like, she mentioned at the office, they threw her a Mulan themed birthday party. It's like, yo, what makes y'all think that's the right thing to do? You get the like, oh, I'm trying to do the right thing behind it, but then at the same time, it's like, yo, that's the stupidest way to go about it. So there's a lot of that at the beginning of the movie, and then it pops up again in spots, and I really enjoyed that stuff. I mentioned that the movie is raunchy. There's a lot of sex jokes. There's a lot of sexual moments, and There's a lot of raunchy comedy. You know, they do a lot of cursing. It's strong R ratings and stuff like that. And I'm fine with that. That stuff is pretty standard for these movies. And when they had to do it, they did it quite well. Like, they didn't shy away from anything. And really, one of the parts that I feel kind of enlightened about, or I feel really strongly about that they did well or executed well, is the way they showed women kind of embracing sexuality and not putting them in this victim role, like men taking advantage of them. Like, nah, they own their sexualities in this movie, and they really executed all of the like sexual type scenes and moments quite well. I don't know if female empowerment was something that they was specifically going for when it came to the writing and how the scenes played out, but when I watched the movie, I kind of felt that was what was displayed, and that's how they came away with it. Like, hey, we don't shy away. We know what we want. We gonna go after it. And it's like, yeah, that's cool. That's a different way to approach it. I liked it. I thought it was nice. So getting into the deeper stuff. So I mentioned the Asians, kind of pointing out different Asians in the airport. And so as a black man, in our community, there's this notion that we're the only race of people that tear each other down. We're the only race of people that argue amongst ourselves and can't unify. And this movie really highlighted the fact that that is not true at all. So yes, there's the scenes where, you know, they point out the different Chinese that's in the airport, but then there's also Lolo's family. When they get to that section of the movie where Lolo's people are talking to Audrey, and Audrey is being treated funny and talked about in a harsh or rude way, and that is because she's a foreigner, but she's still one of y'all. And so the parallel that I can draw as a black man is that there are sections and pockets of Africans that don't like African Americans, and there's a weird little relationship there, because on our side, African Americans, there sometimes tends to be a bit of reverence for people from Africa, but more often than not, in my experience, you see negative connotations of Africans towards African Americans. So that was something that I had never seen displayed in any other culture, and we see it displayed here. Like, they talk about Audrey, like, look at her round face and her weird looking eyes, and you know, they thinking like, oh, she's just an American Asian, she's not a real Asian. And it's like, you never saw this stuff. I never saw this stuff displayed outside of the black community, but I'm seeing it here in the Asian community, and I'm sure it pops up in every different community. And we could take it a step further and talk about Lolo's family reaction when they find out that Audrey isn't Chinese at all. She's actually Korean. It's like they really don't seem happy about it. And most Americans, not even black, white, just Americans in general, would look at the Asian community and we would assume things like Koreans don't have problems with Chinese, or Chinese don't have problems with Taiwanese, and Taiwanese don't have problems with Japanese. You think that because we don't know the dynamics of that part of the world, but we see in this film, like, nah, the Chinese, when they find out she's Korean, they're like, take my dress off. It's like, wow, you turned really hard, because you know, you normally don't like anybody, but you show favor to her, but then finding out that her ethnicity is not exactly what you expected, it's like, nah, give me my stuff back. I'm not your friend no more. That's crazy, but it's like eye-opening, because we don't expect that type of stuff to happen, but it happens. Now let's move from the cultural enlightenment stuff and go over to the part that I feel like they really executed well, which is the heart of the movie. Not a lot of comedies can nail the heart, like they'll miss it all the way. This one really hit it hard with the heart of the film, with Audrey wanting to connect with her birth mom, and she finds out that her birth mom has passed away. So I'm a parent and I'm a little bit off in the head. You know, I think about all the things that I probably shouldn't think about. So I contemplate my own mortality on a regular basis. And to see a mother who was anticipating that child reaching back out to her and knowing that, okay, I'm sick and I may not have enough time to be here for that. Like, she made preparations. In my mind, I think like I would love to be prepared to, if anything were to happen, I would love to leave messages to where I can have guidance for my children in the future, you know, talking them through different situations, even though I'm not physically present. I think that way, like I'm weird in that way. And in this movie, it was a super emotional scene to see Audrey's mom and her husband. Like, the husband brought her in, showed her the video, and the fact that the video exists, and the execution of the actress on the mom's side, Ashley Park, the actress who played Audrey, like all that stuff meshed so well. It was a great scene, and to me, it solidified the movie as having a real good central core and really having heart, where a lot of other comedies try to do the hard thing and they don't do it well. This one I feel like does it well. On my little rating scale, I have to say that Joyride is good. It is very good. I enjoyed it. I thought that it landed the heart section. I thought it was kind of eye-opening culturally. I thought the funny parts were really funny. And even though it has like a cringy moment here or there, and you know, they do the obligatory friend fight stuff, it still makes a pretty good movie. So if you enjoyed Girls Trip, Superbad, anything in the Hangover franchise, maybe even Pineapple Express, if you liked any of those, then you probably would like Joyride too, because Joyride is in that same vein. It follows a very similar script, but it does have its own spin on all that stuff, and it executes pretty good. So yeah, Joyride is good. Check it out. That's all we got for this one, y'all. Enjoy yourself, guard your heart, and go watch something good.